What a pleasure to chat with two people I watch all the time on What Chaos. DJ and Pete, it's an honor, fellas. Thanks for joining me.
Brodie, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, really. I mean, honestly, you guys do a great job, and I love your perspectives. And so I want to go straight to the San Jose Sharks, who you cover and talk about on your program. But I also feel like you're not here in California, not here in San Jose. So sometimes I like the view from just a little bit of a different scenery. What's your take? And maybe, DJ, I'll start with you. Your perspective on the Sharks as a franchise, where they're at right now, which is interesting, but also where they might be headed.
I mean, we like what we see. Off the top, I will say, Sharks fans, I'm starting to get over the Fabian Zetterlund thing. Okay, most of our Sharks talk last year centered around me thinking Mike Greer had a number in his head, and when the player turns that number and it's over 23, they're gone. They're too old. We're rebuilding. I can appreciate that he's not doing that with everyone. I was saying it in jest. We love the Sharks. We really like what we see, as we said, and I can speak for Pete when I say that.
Yeah.
Neither of us are we have allegiances to other teams in terms of like being fans, but I saw in our chat somebody said yesterday we were talking about the Oilers versus the Sharks, and someone said, "Wait, DJ's a Sharks fan?" And another chat corrected and said, no, DJ's a Sharks guy.
Yeah.
He's an Oilers fan. Pete's a Bruins fan.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Sharks guy. And it's hard not to be a Sharks guy. Obviously, they have a lot of exciting young players, but the veterans they've brought in have been really fun. And sure, you can say, oh, well, you signed some of these guys because the money's got to go somewhere, but it seems like it's a good dynamic there. Obviously, Macklin Celebrini is head and shoulders better than pretty much anybody on any team he would play for. So like I do think there's like a little record correcting to be done there in terms of like it's Celebrini and look how much better he is than all of his teammates. Yes, that's fantastic, but that's because of Macklin Celebrini.
Yeah.
It's not because he's on a team full of bums. There's so many good young players. It's cool to see Michael Misa start to get going a little bit now. Obviously, the big question is what will the defense look like in a couple of years when you're trying to really be that cup contender? I'll say this. They're a fun team. They are a contender, even if they're not like top of the league cup contender. They should be a playoff team if everything goes well, and that's amazing progress. So I'm happy with what I see. I'm happy with where it's going.
When I look at the makeup of this team, it's Celebrini driven, but so many other players are having really good seasons, and Misa's stepping in, and Dickinson is now there, but also an Alex Wenberg and a Tyler Toffoli has been a great support piece. Have I forgot to mention Will Smith? So it is weird. It's Celebrini driven, but it's more than that.
It's definitely more than that, and I think that they're starting to kind of take a step forward this year. Even the acquisition of Kiefer Sherwood, who I love. I fell in love with that guy in Vancouver. Just his motor, his intensity, the way that he approaches the game. He's just so fun to watch. So bringing some adult to that room and some intensity to that room for a group that is like kind of surprised themselves, I would imagine, this year, and saying, oh man, we might actually have something earlier than expected. Adding Sherwood to that is very, very exciting to me. And another guy that I've really liked this year is Colin Graff, who's been awesome, especially defensively and on the PK. So like they've got a fun group, and like being East Coast guys in an East Coast show, we place a lot of importance and a lot of eyeballs on West Coast teams because we do this thing with our daily slates called Tucks, which is what's the last game of the night? What are the last few games of the night? Because that's when everybody who's still awake on the East Coast and wants to watch hockey is focusing in on like one or two games. And the Sharks are a great Tuck team, especially this year, because they've got Celebrini, because they're fun, because they're entertaining. And yeah, there might not be real expectations yet, but you start to see it come into focus, and you start to see some of the core pillars there. And it's easy to get excited about where they might be in a year or two.
Colin Graff is a real good one to name drop there. I mean, another player who, look how the Sharks got him. Look what he's become. Top line player. Guy on the PK. And I want to say, too, another part about this, DJ, is that people look at the Sharks, and sometimes when a team ascends into something and they step into the playoff conversation or contention conversation, people say, oh, well, they're just lucky right now. They're way too ahead of themselves, and this will all even out. I think it's actually the opposite of what people are saying about the Sharks. And when I hear the term scary good, I think they might be the definition of that right now, or this could be scary in a few years.
Yeah, I mean, you have to consider that the Sharks don't know what they are, and neither do we. And that's a good thing for the Sharks,
Yeah.
and it's a bad thing for the rest of us because as you look at the prototypes of teams that can be first round fodder, a lot of times it's inexperience, and it's a lot of times it's a team that doesn't know what it takes to win in a certain way. I think the Sharks are a different case. I think that the Sharks are more of a team of like you don't know what Macklin Celebrini is capable of. You think you do. And we think that we do. And we thought he was going to be better this year, but why is he so much better than we thought? And we don't know what the timeline is for when Will Smith is doing things every night that doesn't have Ryan Warsofsky calling him out in press
You
conferences.
saw
Like
that. Okay, you saw
it's some
that.
it's a little tough love. It's a little tough
Yeah, it
love.
is.
Like at some point, like it's it's important to remember like they're getting better. They're improving.
Yeah.
So if you're like, "Oh, I'm surprised they're this good right now." Cool. So am I. But I also don't think that like this is their ceiling or this is their wall. This is a team that's probably going to continue to get better over the course of the season. We've
Yeah.
mentioned Michael Misa, where like he's starting to have an impact. You don't start to have an impact and then stop. You start to have an impact and then you get more used to the league. And yeah, there's like rookie walls and things like that. But by and large, with where the important players are right now in their career trajectories, this isn't a, all right, we got it. We understand what the Sharks are. It's,
Right.
we know what they've given us so far. And what's next?
It's a great way to put it. It kind of makes it interesting as we approach the trade deadline of what to do here. Give some more pieces to this team, stand pat. I mean, we're obviously not seeing them in selling mode anymore. What do you think the approach is down the stretch for this team? And let me also throw this in there. What's the concern? Like, any good fan has hope and has worry. What might be your worry for this team down the stretch?
My worry would be like don't rock the boat too much, and don't interrupt kind of the momentum and the progress you have. Because I don't think that anything that you do at the trade deadline this year is going to make a monumental difference in the outlook of this team. I don't think that they're one piece away. I don't think that the outlook long term should be shifted too much forward at the expense of maybe what you're building in terms of asset management.
Right.
And so when I hear a guy like Artemi Panarin linked to the Sharks, I number one worry about sort of the young wholesome vibe that's being curated over in San Jose being disrupted a little bit, but also I worry about that not being their number one priority right now. Like number one priority for the Sharks at this point in time, even if it's short term, is improve defensively, improve on the back end, improve the blue line, improve your overall team defensive play. That is the biggest concern, because once you get to the playoffs, that's what is most at risk of being exposed, in addition to the inexperience. So if you want to get more experience in the room, you want to get more of a well-rounded game, I'm all for that. I don't think Artemi Panarin is the guy that I would target, especially when he's due a new contract and it seems like he wants to get paid. And when you've got a guy like Macklin Celebrini, who is the future of that team, who is the number one, I think that something that needs to be considered with any guy coming in is what's he going to command as a price tag, and how does that affect your future when it comes to negotiations with Macklin Celebrini and some of these other guys like Misa and Will Smith, and sort of the contract structure of that team. And I think that could have consequences. So it's something to be wary of.
Yeah, I'm completely out on Panarin for the Sharks. And Panarin's a great player, obviously, and I like him for a lot of teams. But a big part of it is the wholesome thing that Pete brought up. Like, think of all the new fans the Sharks are getting. It's a lot of young people. And I think that with where, like, it's just not a risk worth taking, I would say. Now, the position the Sharks are in, they can pay any price for it. Like if there's somebody that they want, they're going to probably be able to beat any trade out there because they do have assets and they do have picks. Obviously, they traded a couple of them for Kiefer Sherwood, but anything that they want to go and get, they should. Pete's right. Don't do it at the expense of whatever the cap's going to be when it is time to pay Macklin Celebrini and when it is time to pay Dickinson and Smith on whatever their next contracts are going to be. I would say enjoy the fact that you are ahead of schedule in a lot of
Yeah.
people's eyes, but don't change your schedule if you don't have to.
I would say for me, the most intriguing guy that they could land very realistically is Dougie Hamilton.
All right.
And him being linked to that team and saying no in the offseason, I'd be interested to see if he changes his stance on that, given the step that they've taken this year. Because if Dougie's reasoning for not wanting to go to the Sharks is to project what they were supposed to be this year, which is a bottom of the league team, not even close to contending, and he's on the Devils, who had a lot of positivity. Those things have flipped. And if he wants to reconsider and go to a team that really would prioritize his spot in the lineup and what he can bring to that team and kind of how he can shepherd some of these other guys in, like Sam Dickinson,
Right.
like what he can provide in terms of veteran leadership, that would be very, very intriguing to me. Plus, there's cost certainty, and I think the Devils just want him out the door. So the price tag might not be super high. Dougie to San Jose would be awesome for me.
So we've talked a lot about the Sharks from a strategic standpoint, a tactical standpoint. How about just who they are and kind of their presentation and who they are as personalities? And they're like an interesting group. And obviously Mac and Will are kind of the tandem leading the charge, but Yaroslav Askarov, very interesting player. Ryan Reeves has come in and set a tone and added personality to this group. I mean, he has leaned into the San Jose Sharks at a point where, he got traded there. He could have said, I don't want to be a part of this. It's a very interesting group. I'm wondering how you see like the team's image, and also if this is a playoff team this year, how that might help shape not only the image, but the expectations for this team moving forward. Like what good a playoff appearance could do for this group next season and beyond.
Well, on the vibes, I'll say not many teams can lose Cody Ceci and Jake Wallman in a calendar year and still be considered probably the most fun team in the league or the most like good vibes team in the league. So
Right.
credit to this insane collection of cool people that Mike Greer has been able to accumulate. As for what a playoff run does, even if you get punched in the mouth, and I'm not saying that the Sharks will, but even if you get punched in the mouth, being in the playoffs is only a good thing because it's experience. It's something that you can pick up and say, okay, well, we didn't figure that stuff like line matching would be so important. Like there's things to learn, not just for the players, but for Ryan Warsofsky, because this should be a group that expects to be in the playoffs and playing a lot of playoff games for as long as they are in San Jose. They don't need to win the cup this year. If they make the playoffs, win a couple of games and go down in a tough first round, that's a great, great season. If they win a couple of rounds, that's an amazing season. You don't want to go into the postseason if you do get there thinking, look, anything that we have is gravy, but we need to be realistic about what the rest of the NHL is and some of the teams that are in the West. People were way too dismissive of the Colorado Avalanche last year. And when they lost in the first round, it was easy to write them off. That was a foolish thing to do because the Colorado Avalanche are a really good team.
Yep.
Vegas Golden Knights are always there. They're always lurking and they're always improving, which is what they've done with Rasmus Andersson. The Oilers, until they beat the Sharks, I was thinking, like this team isn't going to win 3 games all year, and then they'll get to the playoffs and they'll win 8 games in a row because that's just what the Oilers do. They go on a run. There are too many teams in the West where you could say the expectation is for them to do what a team like the Sharks should be hoping to do. So there's no shame if the Sharks have an abbreviated playoff run. I think that there's celebration in having one at all.
Yeah, and when you talk about the playoff thing, even if you're talking pretty early first round exit, like I look back to last year, and the Montreal Canadiens are a team that's going to be in the playoffs and in that hunt for many years to come. They've got an awesome young team. And when they arrived in the first round last year, took a couple games, didn't seem like they were fully prepared for that moment. and they got stronger as the series went along. And I think that that is going to serve them very, very well heading into the playoffs this year, assuming that they make it back, that they're going to be ready to play. They're going to know what to expect. Those nerves aren't going to be as overwhelming for a lot of the young players that they have on the team. So applying that to the Sharks this year would bring a ton of value. I also think there's a lot of value in just the exposure from, you know, the Sharks fan base and the excitement building that, and kind of establishing a foundation for what you can expect moving forward, and getting people excited for next season,
Right.
and getting national attention on this team heading into what should be a fun new era of Sharks hockey. And I do want to go back to the personality thing, because one thing that we haven't mentioned yet is that we had Sam Dickinson on our show earlier this year, and he rocked our world in terms of how ready he was for like the weird stuff that we threw at him. And I think that he is just one of those guys that is built for the media, built for the cameras, like obviously a really good hockey player, but a guy that you can throw out there and who will win over a ton of fans just by being in front of a camera, being in front of a microphone. He was very, very impressive for a young kid.
I met him at the 2024 draft. Right after he was drafted, the Sharks traded up to get that pick and select him. And I knew instantly, like 2 questions into the interview, same thing you noticed, Pete, was like, this guy, I know he's a good player, but wow, what a good personality.